Sponsoring Dr. Ed Gicewicz, the University of Buffalo, represented by Professor William R. Greiner, President, University of Buffalo. President?
Thank you, Bob. That was a great summary of Ed's career, so I don't have to comment on that. But I did want to do something first, and that's recognize the important member of the Gicewicz family, and that's Connie, who's out there. Connie, God love you. You made Edu everything that he is today. Carol and I know Ed and Connie as the parents of 5 children who are contemporaries of our kids, Rick and Greg and Suzanne and Julie and Leisha. Leisha was a very close friend of my daughter. And we came to know the Gicewiczes as a loving family, caring parents, and we admire them greatly for that. I think it speaks well of what a career in athletics can do to train a person or help a person to develop the kinds of skills and aptitudes that lead to a life of caring and concern for others. Eddie's shown his interest and his care for kids in a whole lot of ways over the course of the years. Not only was he a physician who was in his office and available to families and athletes and others, there was many a time when his kids would bring someone home for a little medical care, a little quick suturing on the kitchen table for a little split in the forehead. Student athletes from UB would show up after a meet, after an event, for special treatment by Dr. Ed. I'm told one time Ed actually did an emergency appendectomy on a student athlete. Ed, the kid had a sprained ankle, but it was a great appendectomy. He carried his care for young people over into public service, served as president of the Williamsville Central School Board for several terms, actually led the slate that defeated me in my bid for election to that school board, but we've made up long since. He now serves young people in this community in a very special way. He is on the council, the governing board of the University of Buffalo, appointed by Governor Pataki, and loyal, comes to just about every UB event. I think he's having the time of his life doing it. I'm grateful for his presence there, for his aid, support, and counsel. Comes to all our football games. He's my personal advisor on matters regarding football. The other day he was leaving, and he consoled me. It was after the Marshall game. He was going out, and he said, "Don't worry, Bill, we beat the point spread." I said, "How did we do that?" He said, "Well, the handicappers had it as 44-point underdogs, and we lost by 56. He's a physician, not a statistician. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to introduce a UB alumnus, a tremendous athlete, but more important, a tremendous human being, a man, a physician, a father, a husband, a great guy, my friend, Ed Gicewicz.
You're too kind, Bill. Those are awful humble words, calculated to inflate my ego. But I gotta tell you, during the cocktail party, a young kid came up to me and he says, "Doctor, could I have 25 of your autographs?" And I said, "Sure. What are you gonna do with 25? He says, "I'm gonna trade them for one of LaFontaine's." Fame is so fleeting. I want to thank Bill, Bob Aquapain, the university, for sponsoring myself here on this dais, and again thank them for their great efforts in delivering our university, which is highly renowned academically, into the higher echelons of athletics, which I think is going to do Western New York a lot of good. I know the ship is a little tough now. They're doing good in soccer, men and women, doing good in volleyball, but they're having a rough time of it in football. But with their intensity and hard work, they're going to come out on top and be one of the Big Mac conference's great teams in the future, given the time. The president that preceded Bill guy named Steve Sample came from Nebraska. He was the number 2 man before he came in to the University of Buffalo. And they were upset in Nebraska during his tenure there because they were known as a football factory, and academics were low down on the list, and they wanted to change that image. So they decided to put N on their helmets for knowledge. I want to thank Bob Kuczynski, who's been leading this affair for the last several years. He told me that Pete Rose was going to be the featured speaker at this dinner tonight, but he couldn't make it. He's attending a Let Bygones Be Bygones dinner with Jim Gray, the sports columnist working out of New York. When Bob Kuczynski first came to town, he kept bragging about his father being a Southern planter. Turned out the guy was an undertaker in Mississippi. And he's a suave, debonair guy, as you can see here. He decided to go to a barber for a shave and a manicure, and while he was getting his nails done, he looked at this gorgeous creature that was doing his nails, and he said, "What do you say, honey, after work today we go out and do the town?" She said, "I can't." He said, "Why not?" She said, "I'm married." He says, "Call your husband up, tell him you're working overtime, tell him you're going out with the girls." She said, "Why don't you tell him he's shaving you?" Well, I'm just going to take a little tour, tell you a little bit about my journey in the sports field. I've had good vantage points as a player, as a coach. I refereed for 12 years, and a team physician, of course, so I've seen it from many different aspects. And I went to Old Tech High School on Clinton Street before it merged with Hutchinson Central, and we had lousy football there. We won 2 games in my 4 years, and one of them was against Girls Vocational, and the second was against the School for the Blind on a long pass in the closing minutes. It was not a good experience. I got out in 1946. The war was just over. Universities and colleges were not taking young high school graduates because there were 10 million men being discharged from all the services, and of course they had to take them first. So I got a hold of about 12 of my close friends, one of whom is here tonight, Joe T. Took them over to the recruiter's office, and 3 days later we were in Fort Dix, and my former friend said, "Gicewicz, how the hell did you do this to us?" But it was a good experience. We got leavened in the service. I went to Japan for a long time, being a so-called ambassador of democracy and a defender against the Red Menace. The big joke was then, you ask a fella, "What do you think of red china?" They said it goes good with a blue tablecloth. Played some high-level football there with a lot of West Point graduates, and during the war years, West Point was the number 1 team in the nation with all the recruits they had, and they were number 1 all the time with Blanchard, Davis, and all the rest of those guys. But I got out, I matriculated at the university. In those days, you did not play varsity your first year. You had to play freshman ball. You had 3 years of varsity ball. We had a nice schedule. I thought Louisville, 19-hour train ride before we went and played the game. Got whipped roundly into boot. Played Colgate, which was a power in the East in those days. Bucknell, Ohio U, which they're playing now in the MAC, which we beat in an upset in 1949, if I remember it. Miami of Ohio we played. Washington Jefferson was strong. So those were great and wonderful years. I played basketball. We had a great team in 51. We were 18-4 and went to a small college tournament, got promptly whipped and came home. But the great Jim Horn, who's in this Hall of Fame, was on that team, and a fella, Hal Kuhn. One little anecdote I'll tell you. We played Temple that year, and Temple had a great team. The Temple Owls, as they are called, had a guy named Bill Milkvy, M-L-K-V-Y. They call him the owl without the vowel. And he was the leading scorer in the nation all the way through, ended up with 30-plus points, hell of a player. And I was the tallest guy on our team, and I was assigned the duty to guard him. Here's this really big shooter. And my coach, Mal Aiken, great guy, said, now, Gicewicz, this guy can go left, he can go right, he shoots righty and lefty, you got to watch him. All the previous week, you got to watch this guy, you got to keep your eyes on him. The game starts, in 4 minutes, the guy's got 12 points off me. Aiken pulls me out, he says, I thought I told you to watch that guy. I said, I did, and he's good. Baseball had a lot to do at the university with me going into medical school. I played baseball for the university, and one game, I was in phys ed. I wanted to be a gym teacher and a football coach. One day I went 0 for 6, whiffed 4 times, and made 3 errors. After the game, the coach came to me, he says, Gicewicz, why don't you go into medicine? Which I did, and that's how I got my start. I refereed for a good long time, and Gene Masters, who's on the dais here, and whom you'll hear from in a little bit, coached at Grand Island for 100 years, and I worked many of his games, and he and I are good friends, but on the field he gets a little rough on officials, and he was screaming at me the whole game. Finally I had enough. Threw the flag, picked the ball up, walked 5 yards off. He yelled from the sideline, what the hell's that for? I said, coaching from the sidelines. He says, you dummy, that's 15 yards. I said, the way you're coaching, I'm only going to give you 5. In my first year as the doctor, I was kind of nervous and, really trying to be as diligent as possible. And Doc Urich was there. In his early years when he was there, great fiery guy. First game we played was Kent State, at Kent State. We're winning 21-18 at half. It's a high-scoring, close game. Comes halftime, everybody sits down, rehydrates themselves, and does what they have to do in halftime. He gets them all together and gives a fiery Newt Rockney speech. You can run them. You ran them the first half. You can pass them. You pass them the first half. Get out there and knock them down. Knock them silly. Let's go. I felt so motivated, I wanted to run across the field and punch the opposing doctor in the mouth. Till I found out it was Tony Adamley, the old linebacker of the Cleveland Browns. Thought better of it then. Well, in closing, I want to thank and congratulate everybody on this dais, and I'm in tough company here, and I think they're all wonderful, great athletes and feel proud to be with them. I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee and everyone else with the Hall of Fame that's been part of that. I want to thank my mother, who's 96 years old, and I hope watching here. The day I got inducted, I ran home, gave her a nice kiss on the forehead, said, Mom, you've just been kissed by the newest inductee in the Buffalo Greater Sports Hall of Fame. She said, terrific. Take out the garbage and let the dog out. And my dad, who's gone, but up there watching, he never missed a game, and he'd have loved to have been at this party. My wife, of a lot of years, been a great force in my career. My children, Susie and Lambros, Wayne and Julie, Alicia, Rich and Julie, Greg and Dorothea, my brothers Zig and Mike, the Bennington Gicewiczes, all of those that were supported me through the years, and last of all, and not least, are the Gray Bulls. The Gray Bulls are a bunch of geezers, guys I played ball with, guys that you made friendships with, which nobody could ever break. They helped you in the trenches. They went through the slop when it was muddy, and win or lose, or on your side. We've got a great group of guys that meet luncheons, sit there and drink a little beer, tell lies about our prowess in the good old days. Proud to be with, I'm proud that they're here tonight. And let me say, yes, my heart's full of gratitude for this award. I'm thankful to all concerned. I'm euphoric about it, but let it be known, I'm standing on the shoulders of the Gray Bulls, all my teammates and supporters, when I accept this trophy. It's been a wonderful journey. Thank you.